If I say that the world is round and someone else says it's flat, that's worth reporting. But you might also want to report on a bunch of scientific evidence that seems to support the notion that the world is round.
The journalist's obligation when writing a story is to give equal column space to all sides, or half to one of each side. And if someone says the earth is round and someone says the earth is flat, at some point you're going to make a judgment. The earth is flat, people, is just flat out wrong. Right. I will not be giving them the attention. We're wasting time, and I'm not doing a service to in my role of informing the public. And so I think journalists are really smart people, and they're highly educated, and they're curious. They have the curiosity that kids have that they still have as adults. That's the other kind of branch of curiosity manifested in society, scientists and journalists. And that's a great thing to have. But at some point, invest your brain energy to recognize when something is fringe.
I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but you are a journalist. You are a journalist.
So you don't have to apologize.
No, I'm not apologizing.
I host a talk show, so I can't say I'm not a journalist.
Well, not only that, you're in pursuit of questions.
Yes, I agree that I'm a journalist, as are scientists who ask questions. The only part of the question we don't ask is the who.
Here's the thing. If you had a political faction that insisted that we teach that the world is flat, and it's a conspiracy of scientists and others who published these pictures where the world was round, after a while, people would insist that you not teach that anymore. Well, let me say that the evidence for the age of the Earth is every bit as compelling. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old, not 6 or 10,000 years old.
Why did this one come out?
But Bill, isn't it a problem when science guys attempt to bully other people? I mean, Nick here had to say, I'm not a denier. He had to get it up. I'm not a denier, because really, the science group has tried to shame anyone who dares question this. Okay. And the point I'm trying to make is it's not working with the public.
Even a political conspiracy. My friends, these people are so out of touch with science that they believe rising sea levels don't matter because in their view, the extra water is just going to spill out over the sides of a flat Earth. They're wrong, obviously. For the benefit of those who may still question the 97% of peer-reviewed studies on climate change, let me just underscore, you don't need to be a scientist to know that the Earth is round, that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and that gravity is the reason that objects fall to the ground. You could pick 100 different examples of simple things that happen every day that reflect science and determinations of science. And you don't need to be a scientist.
This is happening. It's happening now. It's happening faster than scientists had predicted it would. And it's happening to greater degrees than scientists predicted it would. And we need, as responsible leaders, to take account of science, not some cockamamie ideological hypothetical, but science. And we need to make clear that those members of the Flat Earth Society are on the wrong side of history. We are going to make Paris the demarcation point where we begin to get the job done to save the planet, period.
They've been talking down new sources of energy. They dismiss wind power. They dismiss solar power. They make jokes about biofuels. They were against raising fuel standards. I guess they like gas guzzlers. They think that's good for our future. We're trying to move towards the future. They want to be stuck in the past. And we've heard this kind of thinking before. Let me tell you something. If some of these folks were around when Columbus set sail, they must have been founding members of the Flat Earth Society. They would not have believed that the world was round. But more broadly, we've got to move beyond partisan politics on this issue. I want to be clear. I am willing to work with anybody, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, libertarians, Greens, anybody to combat this threat on behalf of our kids. I'm open to all sorts of new ideas, maybe better ideas, to make sure that we deal with climate change in a way that promotes jobs and growth. Nobody has a monopoly on what is a very hard problem, but I don't have much patience for anyone who denies that this challenge is real. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
What responsibility do you think members of the media have to portray science correctly?
Yeah, I think the media has to sort of come out of this ethos that I think was in principle a good one, but it doesn't really apply in science. The ethos was whatever story you give, you have to give the opposing view, and then you could be viewed as balanced. In the clip that you showed of the president, you don't talk about the spherical Earth with NASA in it and then say, oh, now let's give equal time to the flat earthers. Plus, science is not there for you to cherry pick. You know, I said this once, and it's gotten a lot of internet play. I said the good thing about science is that it's true whether or not you believe in it. All right? I guess you can decide whether or not believe in it, but that doesn't change the reality of an emergent scientific truth.
My friends, these people are so out of touch with science. You don't need to be a scientist to know that the Earth is round.
The mainstream media is owned by only a handful of megacorporations with vested interests. But on the other hand, the internet is an interconnected network of billions of sources. So you can research information for yourself.
Here's Rob Skiba breaking it down.
Hey. All right, do you see Photoshop?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And if those of you who think this technical difficulty was planned and think I'm scamming you, go do it for yourself. Because you're going to find the exact same thing. I got nothing to hide here. This is live on the air, okay? I'm going to zoom in on the Earth in Photoshop. Can you see the Earth?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to go to Image, Adjust, Levels, and I'm going to bring the levels over here. And I'm going to bring the levels up. Uh-oh. What is that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, wow. Why is there a square box around the Earth allegedly taken from the scientists on the moon in Apollo 17? And people wonder why I don't trust NASA. That's why I don't trust NASA. I mean, they're always out there saying, you know, Rob, everybody's trying to show you stuff from space and you keep rejecting it. This is why I reject it. These guys are liars. I mean, anybody who has Photoshop can just go to the NASA website, download the photo, do exactly what I did, see for yourself. Then you got other pictures like this, the blue marble, right, that come out. Okay, well, there's a big problem with the blue marble, and I'm going to zoom in here and show you what the problem is. These are all composite images where they are really not very good at Photoshop because they're using the Photoshop clone tool to replicate clouds. This cloud is a copy of this cloud. See the formations? They're identical. Identical formations, side by side.
Wow.
Right? These right here, side by side, side by side. See this kind of W-looking shape right here, replicated right here. This cloud is exactly the same as that cloud. You know, same clouds right there. And same thing on the other side of the world. They got the same thing going on. They got careless. Here, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the same formations replicated right there. These two replicated, same exact formations right here. This right here is clone of that right there. I mean, really? So you're telling me that we could take pictures of Jupiter and Saturn, huge, massive planets, and now we're out going to Pluto, but we don't have one legitimate picture of the Earth from space that's not a composite? Really?
They can't prove the globe because it doesn't exist. Because people are waking up. And no matter how much they try to suppress this flat earth movement, oh, it's going to keep moving one way or another.
Which way does it go? East to west or west to east? Well, it worries me. I bet the children will know.
I shouldn't worry. You can teach them far more important things.
Various currents and temperatures and everything make a lot of sense on the flat Earth model, where these hot temperatures right here was essentially the equatorial region on the globe,
model, this is where the sun and moon would be going around.
world is around, see? But we all know it's a flat, right?
Of course it's flat. Sure, I know the world is flat.
Well, so do I. Everybody knows that.
Good, good.
The same phenomenon Eratosthenes measured could be explained by a flat Earth if the sun were only a few thousand miles away and 32 miles across. The math would work out the same.
The tree grew and became strong, and it reached to heaven, and it was visible to the ends of the whole earth. Daniel 4:11. And the moon will not give her light, and the stars will fall from heaven. Matthew 24:29. How is this possible? How? Behold, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him. Revelations 1:7. We have to look to the truth of the Word of God. The world has lied to us. Satan, the god of this world, has blinded the eyes of those that can't see the truth. There's connections. We need to look and see different. Think. Could everything be connected? Could the world system be set up to destroy the foundations of God with NASA? With science? Right from the beginning, the foundations of God's Word have been tampered with, have been distorted. Satan is the god of this world, and he's distorting everything with his agencies set up to deceive us. Look at what NASA presents us. CGI, paintings, composites, stitched together. Where are the pictures of the Earth? Why is it that there is only 2 images of the Earth? Where's the HD footage of the spinning Earth? Real pictures, real video. They even admit on their website, these are fakes. These are not real. We've been lied to about our world. It's time for you to look into the truth. Research. It can be crazy to think. No. We know. It has to be real. The cognitive dissonance is running through society. You don't want to wake up, but it's like the Matrix, and it's better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. Psalms 118:8. The world's lies. The Earth does not orbit the sun. Everything orbits around us. We're geostationary. We're motionless.
This was the Hebraic concept of the universe, and they were not alone. Like I said, there are many, many other cultures that believe the same thing. So looking at our whisper down the line, we have the guys toward the source material saying, we are on a circular, still flat Earth set on pillars under a dome, within which are the sun, moon, and stars. We get to the end of the line where we are today, and I heard we live on a spinning heliocentric ball in an ever-expanding universe. Huh. Which one is it anyway? If you read the textbooks would tell you that we are on an oblate spheroid. You got this guy right here saying, no, the Earth is really pear-shaped. Neil deGrasse Tyson says the Earth is pear-shaped. Then, of course, everything NASA puts out shows us pictures time and time again of a perfect sphere. And then we have the Bible over here saying, well, you live in a snow globe. So, which one is it? I'm asking the question because I'm asking the question. Because Paul said, prove all things. And I'm having trouble, not just trying to prove the snow globe, I'm having trouble proving the ball. Because most of our information on the ball relies on these guys. These guys hate God.
You have written that God is a psychotic delinquent invented by mad, deluded people.
No, I didn't say quite that. I said something rather better than that.
Oh, well, please tell us what you said. Please tell us what you said.
Well, I would have to read it from the book.
No, please.
The God of the Old Testament is arguably the most unpleasant character in all fiction. Jealous and proud of it, a petty, unjust, unforgiving control freak, a vindictive, bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser, a misogynistic, homophobic, racist, infanticidal, genocidal, filicidal, pestilential, megalomaniacal, sadomasochistic, capriciously malevolent bully.
So that's what you think of God?
Yeah.
To the editor, people cited violation of the First Amendment when a New Jersey school teacher asserted that evolution and the Big Bang are not scientific and that Noah's Ark carried dinosaurs. The case is not about the need to separate church and state. It's about the need to separate ignorant, scientifically illiterate people from the ranks of teachers.
That truly amazes me, this whole flat earth phenomenon that's blowing up, this theory that's just exploded in the alternative research community, because a lot of these researchers they don't cite anybody with a background in meteorology or physics or mechanical engineering or anything like that.
Robert Sungenis, BA, MA, PhD, geocentrist. Dr. E. Michael Jones, speaker at the 2010 Conference on Geocentrism. Gerardus D. Bow, PhD, former professor at the Baldwin Wallace University, geocentrist. Professor John Bill, PhD, geocentrist. Philip Stott, PhD, professor, geocentrist. In fact, according to Philip Stott here, there's another 200 impeccably credentialed academics and professors who also believe the Earth is stationary.
They know perfectly well if they don't toe the scientific establishment's line, they'll be chucked out. So it's very difficult these days to find out what scientists do believe. But I know there are a large number of scientists who are now coming to believe the Earth is stationary at the center. I think 30 years ago there were about 4. Now there are a few hundred well-qualified scientists who believe the Earth is the center. But those are just those who will admit it.
No academics who support the alternative view? Debunked. The fact that so many of them are questioning the official heliocentric narrative ought to raise an eyebrow. So at least 200 professors and academics for a stationary Earth? I'd say that adds credibility. Critics will say, hang on, most of those professors are Catholic. See, it's just another Jesuit conspiracy. No, some of those professors have been bashed around by the powers that be in a way that you would not believe. So it's not in any of their interests to dismiss the official heliocentric model, but they have. Personally, I think the professors are playing a sophisticated game here. They found a respectable halfway house where they can maintain some respectability in geocentrism. The ball Earth theory is pushed way into the background of their theories, and it's left up to you, the viewer, to connect the dots, because a stationary Earth lends itself to a flat one. So the professors are being very, very clever here, and I'm just loving the dynamic of it all.
This symbol is one of the most important symbols in all symbology.
It is the most prominent symbol on our $1 bill. It is one of the most viewed symbols on Earth, and very few people understand what it really means. We see the elements of the symbol being the words Anu et Coeptis at the top. Then we have a pyramid with its capstone missing. The capstone is cut off, so it is an incomplete pyramid. Atop the pyramid, as a two-dimensional slit in the sky, it could be seen, a two-dimensional opening or a rift in the sky. From behind that, we see an eye, and that eye is bathed in light. And that eye is bathed in light. And that eye is bathed in light. So we have to understand each element. Each element is here not by accident, it is there by design. And the makers of this sigil, because that's what this is a sigil, which is comprised of many symbols, put nothing on it by accident. And everything has a meaning in this. So let's start to break down the symbols one at a time. The word seclorum is put into a Latin dictionary, and then you see it is a word modification, a truncation. CL is derived from CUL. So an internal CL might be rendered by CUL, thus giving us seculorum. And seculum, seculi, is a noun that means world, universe, secular, temporal, earthly, or worldly affairs, cares, or temptation.
Time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society. They must have been founding members of the Flat Earth Society. They would not have believed that the world was round.
I was talking with a gentleman from Belcom, and we were discussing the lie. Everything he was telling me was different from what we were being told was the truth. And at one point I asked him, I said, man, you guys, you lied about a lot, didn't you? And instantly he said, no. We didn't lie about certain things. We lied about everything. None of it was true. I really don't think people realize how deep the lie goes.
Space, the final frontier.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
The Vector, NASA's official logo. If you've ever looked at NASA's official logo, both their official insignia and their official seal, you'll see that the most prominent object in the seal is a red swooshing object. They call that the chevron or the vector. If you ask NASA's Public Affairs Office, this symbology is featured so heavily in their insignia and seal, they'll give you what really amounts to the standard facile cover story for the unilluminated. They'll tell you that that is a representation of a hypersonic wing design from the 1950s, which was the time the logo was created. Not exactly the case. Someone might want to ask the Russian Federal Space Agency, Roscosmos, that was formed in 1992, why they chose that same logo. And while you're at it, you can go ask the Chinese, who formed their space agency in 1996, why in the world they're using a hypersonic wing design from the 1950s as their official logo. Then you can ask the Japanese, the South Koreans, Taiwanese, Malaysia, Mexico, Iran, all of these countries, even Bulgaria. They all utilize the vector symbology in their space agency logos for their national space agencies. It gets even deeper. You can go look at the individual manned program patches for NASA. The Mercury program, for example, a blatant use of covert symbology. In every logo dealing with the Mercury program, you'll see what looks like a number 7 in their logo. And again, NASA's official story is that they put this number 7 there so that they could pay homage to the original 7 Mercury astronauts. Kind of forgetting the fact that only 6 Mercury astronauts actually flew into space, because number 7 never did. Deke Slayton had a heart problem, so he didn't get to go up. So there were only 6 Mercury astronauts. Yet there's a 7 in every single logo. That's in the official mission or official program insignia for Mercury, as well as the 6 individual mission patches carry this logo. And it carries on to the Space Shuttle program. If you look at the Apollo logo has a big letter A in it. At least that's what they want you to believe, but it's not. Again, that's just a simple way of explaining away the inclusion of this vector symbology in the logo. If you go to the Space Shuttle program, the original Space Shuttle STS program patch is a triangular patch that, again, hides the use of the chevronic vector symbology. And that also goes for many of the STS-specific mission patches. Every single one of the International Space Station expedition patches carry the vector symbology. The Russian Mir space station used the vector symbology. That was their official logo. You can even go deeper and look at military-industrial complex companies. Look at the logo on a company like Lockheed Martin, 2 vectors. The X Prize logo, Ames Research Labs, U.S. Space Command. When you get into the military realm, the United States Space Command, their official logo is the vector symbol. And when you look at the military's individual space-specific programs, all of them deal with vector symbology in their official insignias. And the question really becomes, who or what are these people paying homage to? And the truth, quite frankly, is out of this world.
It's a long fly ball going back. And the ball shatters the sky, bringing the ocean itself down into the stadium. Oh, Simpson just broke this dream's reality wide open.
Photo painting. How the fuck would you know?
Thrown around the sun and shot through infinite space from a godless Big Bang, they turned humanity into a random, meaningless, purposeless accident of a blind, dumb universe. So it's like trauma-based mind control.
This is the construct. It's our loading program. We can load anything from clothing to equipment, weapons, training simulations, anything we need.
Right now, we're inside a computer program.
Is it really so hard to believe? Your clothes are different, the plugs in your arms and head are gone. Your hair has changed. Your appearance now is what we call residual self-image. It is the mental projection of your digital self.
This isn't real.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain. This is the world that you know. The world as it was at the end of the 20th century. It exists now only as part of a neural interactive simulation that we call the Matrix. You've been living in a dream world, Neo. This is the world as it exists today.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
Weather balloons travel all the way to the very edge of space. It's a world to which few humans ever get to travel. But now, for the first time ever, 360-degree cameras have made it possible for us to immerse ourselves in that voyage.
You actually see how comfy it is?
This will be the highest that any 360-degree camera has ever traveled. Temperatures will drop to 60 degrees below zero. Pressure will drop almost to a complete vacuum. Every component has to be tested and certified to make absolutely sure that it won't fail, break apart, or cause a fire that could endanger the mission. Balloons are fragile creatures, and the weather determines everything.
Donc, ce qu'on voit plus loin là-bas, c'est les gonfleurs qui sont en train de gonfler le ballon à l'hélium. On peut voir les remorques d'hélium plus loin là-bas. Le ballon, on voit son enveloppe ici déroulée au plancher, va faire 800 000 mètres cubes de volume une fois rendu au plafond. Plus proche ici, on a la nacelle de l'enveloppe, suivie du mécanisme de séparation, puis suit le parachute. Le parachute qui sert en fait à l'atterrissage de la nacelle des charges utiles. Une fois ouvert, le parachute fait 700 mètres carrés en surface.
Just can't ignore. And this